All right, we are live. Start recording.
Yep.
Okay, looks like we are live streaming and we are recording. And I'm going to start the meeting. EMS meeting Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America,
and to the
to
republic
the
republic for which it stands,
and
one nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty,
and
justice,
justice.
for all.
Hey, Joe.
Hi.
Okay, so the next item is public portion. Everybody here is an invited guest. Unless anybody lets me know, I'm going to move on to the approval of minutes. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 11th, 2021.
Second. Make a motion to approve them. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Sorry,
Okay.
who seconded it?
Chris Mataski.
Sorry, I
Okay,
should have
thank you.
said that.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is update from Echo Hose Ambulance Corps. In your packet, there was a report, and hopefully you can pull that up. We do have Joe Lasella here. We could start with questions, or we could have Joe, if you want to just give a quick summary, that would be great.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. We've had a busy spring. Call volume has been pretty steady. Definitely picked up over the last few months. Our team's out helping provide vaccinations to the school teachers in town. We've had about 15, 16 volunteers each week that they've done school vaccinations assisting. Today, we actually went out with the Naugatuck Valley Health District and did Shelton homebound patients and assisted with vaccinations with about 18 different homes today. Volunteer recruitment is going very well. We have about 20 people or so in the pipeline of training at some sorts or another. A lot of EMT classes going on, a lot of opportunities for people to get involved. They are in person EMT classes. We actually just announced 5 summer EMT courses. We just had an EMS career fair where we invited all our agencies from around the state to participate, trying to connect people with jobs, and that worked out really well. We had about 50 different EMS providers and students attend and helping people to get jobs as vaccinators and EMTs and dispatchers and everything else out there. So other than that, everyone's is doing a great job, and happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Joe. Does anybody have any questions for Joe at this time? Anything on the report, anything in general?
I think I'm good right now.
Not now.
Eric? No? Justin?
I'm all set, Noreen.
Great. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item is update from BEMS. And I understand we have both Jason Perillo and Christopher Brown on. I'm going to pull up again, that report was in your packet. Hopefully you can pull that up.
Yep.
Jason, if you'd like to take the floor, have a little discussion on the report, please.
Sure. Noreen, thanks very much. I'm happy to be here talking with you folks. It's, as you know, a new commission, so I wanted to introduce BEMS to you for those who don't already know what we do. We've been providing paramedic intercept service to the city of Shelton since 1984. We are a nonprofit. And we also provide service to the cities of Derby and Ansonia and the towns of Seymour and Oxford. We also provide staffing services to the town of Monroe EMS. As you can see from the report, our responses in Shelton are quite strong. We pass very few calls. We respond to typically between 98 and 100% of calls in any given month. And we're, of course, very happy to do that. We, as you know, have entered into a cooperative agreement with Echo Hose Ambulance, co-signed by the city of Shelton. Going forward, we're going to, of course, be transitioning to Echo Hose eventually providing paramedic service. I suspect aboard its ambulances. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do that, but in the interim, as you know, having voted on the cooperative agreement, we are currently bundle billing with Echo Hose Ambulance right now. So as you know, senior citizens in Shelton are not getting a bill for paramedic intercept service. We have always dedicated our work to paramedic intercept service. We have generally left a lot of the community related work to the BLS providers in each of the towns that we serve. So we don't like to compete in that realm, and we happily support in any way that we can the work that the BLS services provide, whether it be, as Joe mentioned, anything from the work that they're doing related to training to work that maybe Seymour Ambulance might do for a for a Halloween event or something for the kids. So we have typically left that to the local ambulance services. And like I said, more than anything else, Noreen had asked me to come and say hello and introduce myself and just give the opportunity to answer any questions that we could. I'm here, as Noreen said, with Chris Brown. Chris is our operations supervisor. Chris keeps the trains running on time. I am just a pretty face. Chris does all the work. I just talk to you folks, and that's about it. But I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you, Jason. Does anybody have any questions for Jason or Chris, if you want to make a comment?
Yeah, so I have a few things, Jason and Chris. Thanks for coming to the meeting tonight. I appreciate it. And so it is new for me, obviously. You know me from the fire department, so I've been here for 35 years, but EMS side, I'm brand new. So forgive me if I ask a question that I should know the answer to. We have an agreement. I know that the last meeting we had, it was approved basically between Echo Hose, yourself, and between the attorneys on a transition plan. So the first thing was there was a possibility that you were going to look for an extension, and I saw that you have asked for that extension. Can you explain to us why that you feel that VEMS needs the extension, and that we can't have paramedic service running out of Echo Hose sooner?
Sure, no, absolutely. As you know, Commissioner, the intention of the agreement was to ensure that Valley EMS could tighten up its operations and meet financial demands in the other towns that we serve. We wanted to be able to make sure that we could do that while also at the same time ensuring that senior citizens didn't get a bill. Extending that that contract guarantees, or at least it helps to guarantee, that VEMS will have the adequate time needed to do that. And we wanted to give Echo Hose Ambulance more than ample time to acknowledge that and be aware of it. So we, rather than wait, we just thought it made the most sense to let them know sooner rather than later that we intended to extend through June of 2022.
Okay. Anyone have any comments on that? So the other thing is, I'm assuming that we have a formalized agreement based on pretty standard EMS standards for response times. This is probably for Joe as well, what our expectations are as a city and us as a board to understand what the average response time should be for an ambulance after dispatch. So obviously we have a big city. That's something that we need to tackle. But on the first ambulance response, do we have what we think is an acceptable standard for that first ambulance to respond to on that scene for the BLS ambulance? And then what's the acceptable response for the paramedic when the paramedic is dispatched? In terms of minutes.
I would defer the BLS question to Joe.
Sorry, trying to find that mute button. I apologize. So our goal is 8 minutes, 59 seconds on all first call priority calls in town. We know that the system can get overwhelmed, and we know we respond to a lot of priority 2, non-priority BLS level calls. But on priority first call in town, it's 8 minutes and 59 seconds.
And Joe, I looked at the run reports. Do we hit that pretty much on an average basis? Are we hitting that on first call in town?
Yeah, we're about 7.2, 7.3 minutes. One of the things we've been doing, we started about a year and a half ago, is trying to post an ambulance down in our busier section of town based upon historical trends. And Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. really tends to be our peak volume times. And we know that with businesses and such, heavy traffic, that corridor does get pretty busy. So we tried to put an ambulance out closer to where those calls may be. We do our best to try to judge where those calls are going to come in. But sometimes we miss, and but for the most part, we've done a really good job of getting out there and getting on scene quickly. During the pandemic, during the summertime, we actually brought our ambulances in late spring, and we did not post as businesses and traffic just came to a screeching halt on that side of town, and we centrally located ourselves at Meadow Street.
Yeah, I mean, I did review the calls and the call volume, and I can see that Long Hill Avenue area is quite busy. That whole I'll call it a circle in the geographic area of Long Hill Avenue. It will encompass part of a River Road and then also Bridgeport Avenue. Not that we have Brightview in there. That kind of fits in that circle. So I'm glad you're doing system status management, because that just the only reason I'm bringing this up for everyone's point of reference is, the critical thing obviously in care is response times, right? Not just the response, but the time that we could get to somebody. So that's just something that we should always think of anytime we do any contracts, anytime we're doing, when we're building our budgets, when we're building our ambulances, our stations. It's really about how do we service the public, and making sure that that we can hit those times. So 7.2 is not terrible. I know everybody knows my background. I worked in Greenwich. Our response time is mandated to be under 2 minutes. That's what we do. That's what we live for. But we have 5 paramedic ambulances 24/7, with the luxury of money. So money does make a difference, and I want to bring that up. Just as money absolutely does make a difference in EMS care and EMS service. So when Joe and Mr. Chafee and everyone else asks for money, I hope we get the city to listen if we do need some stuff for that. As far as the ALS paramedic service, obviously there was a correspondence that kind of went through, and I'd love to discuss that with you, Chris and Jason. But what is your response to first call in town for ALS?
The guidelines that we have are laid out in the EMS plan, and Mike Maglione can speak to that. He and I have discussed that in the past. 16 hours a day, we staff 3 paramedics, and we do our best to ensure that one of those 3 paramedics is located in Shelton. We're obviously not always able to do that, but that, of course, is the goal. And to Joe's point, you do what you can with the resources you have available. In a tiered system, Commissioner, as you know, It is generally expected that the BLS ambulance arrives on scene first. Sometimes in Shelton, that is the case. Very often they arrive at the same time. And in some cases, the paramedic arrives first because Echo is tied up on other calls. And that's the way the system is supposed to work. So, our goals are generally fractile in nature. Chris may be able to add some color to exactly how we perform in Shelton. We sort of generally look at it globally in terms of all 5 towns that we serve. But as Joe can attest to it, it really becomes a team effort to get there, deliver definitive care. And, Commissioner, as you know, having experience in Greenwich, 2 minutes is quite impressive. But I also know the town of Greenwich's budget. And to your point, money can make things happen. We don't have 5 paramedics located in one community. Shelton's big, Greenwich is a little bit bigger, but that's generally how we approach things, and we're generally happy with our outcomes, and we're generally happy with our overall response times. That said, we are limited by the resources that we have, just as Echo is limited by the resources that it has. Chris, if you can add anything to that, by all means, please do.
So our average response times for all of our valley towns, obviously Ansonia and Derby being a little bit smaller, is anywhere about 4 to 6 minutes. We cover 110 square miles, and their outside areas of longer reach is about 9 minutes. It's a 9-minute response time to get to the outskirts, and upwards to 15 to get to the outskirts of both Oxford and Shelton, regardless of where the medic is. So our average response time for the entire system is 9 minutes. So hopefully that kind of helps you out a little bit.
Yeah, and I apologize because I feel like I'm somewhat selfish in the fact that I lived in Seymour, so I have a lot of friends in Seymour, so I don't want anyone to take that personal, but I'm a commissioner in Shelton, so I care about Shelton and Shelton residents, right? I'm just saying that selfishly. So how do I make sure that when fortunately or unfortunately, I listen to the EMS calls, I listen to the response times, I listen to the busyness that you guys are doing, and by the way, tremendous job by everybody. This is not a knock. This is just how do we make it better for the residents that live here, and then really for us as new commissioners, how do we set goals, right, and expectations that maybe we need more resources, Jason, because you're right. I mean that's just reality, and the VEMS and Echo Hose and all the other EMS facilities in the valley suffer. And I look at it this way, kind of. I'm not going to compare it to Greenwich, but we live next door to Stratford. Stratford's a self-funded system. I would like to know what their ALS response times are. I'd like to see what Trumbull's ALS response times are. Then I would even take it so far to see what the first call in town in Bridgeport is for an ALS call in Bridgeport. It's an AMR system. And then they cover Fairfield, all the way down the line. So I want to compare myself to what other towns are doing, not necessarily what the Valley is doing as a whole and what happens in Oxford or Seymour or Derby or Ansonia. What are we doing here in Shelton that is best for our residents? That's really, honestly, I took this job just because I care about the system and I want to help to make it better if I can. I'm obviously only one person, and obviously none of us have the ability to raise funds, but we certainly have the ability to, if we ask the right questions and we understand what some of our limitations are. 3 paramedics for 5 towns, Chris, that's kind of crazy. I mean, it really is. And you listen throughout the course of the day of what the VEMS paramedics do, and you have very, very good paramedics, because I've worked with them, a lot of them, and they that's a lot to cover. That's a lot to ask from a system. Hence why I think, in my opinion, Shelton is to the point, and you guys have agreed, that we really need to take control. We really need to have paramedic service in the town, and we really need to be able to, if we have a paramedic available, I want to make sure that if the paramedic gets there, that he can initiate care to the patient. I don't, it doesn't, billing is an aside, right? Billing is a means to what keeps us afloat. But if our paramedic is first on scene, I want to make sure that he can initiate care. If the VEMS medic is coming, the VEMS medic's going to ride in and get the billing, so be it. That's what you guys will have to work that out. But I don't want to see us working towards hiring paramedics, putting paramedics on, and then them not being able to do their job because we don't hold the PSA and we're not allowed to. I want to just make sure we have a good agreement and a good approach that our goal is obviously to help you guys do the transition. That's important. When I say I'm selfish, that is still important. But I want to make sure that we're going to give the care to our residents in Shelton that we should be giving to them in this day and age.
I would like to just build off Mr. Motaski's comments there. First of all, thanking Joe and Jason, everyone for joining us here tonight. I am new to a lot of this as well, so learning a lot of things as we go. And similar to Mr. Motaski, as much obviously we have many people here representing the Valley. At the end of the day, I'm here for Shelton. So when I look at the notes on that March 22nd call, and I saw Jason and Joe's response and everything. So obviously I understand why it took as long as it did. I guess, similar to Mr. Motaski's point, now that seems to be the process. Is that acceptable? I have a lot of family members in here, elderly members, all different ages, taking 17 minutes or so to get, on that call is obviously, would like to do better than that. So, we know a lot of these things have been in place over the years. We know Shelton has grown tremendously in the years since the original connection with VEMS. So, whether it's changing the process, whether it's simply fighting for resources, that's where I would say, draw on the expertise of the other people here on that. But I think, as part of the commission, that's something I'd like to see us, look at. While it seemed to follow the process in place, can we improve on that, or do we simply just need to increase the resources to get down closer? I mean, obviously, at least to the time, the 8:59 that was mentioned earlier, and even lower, would be great. So that would be some of the things I'd like to see us explore.
Anybody have any comments, reaction? Okay. I wanted to note before we moved on to the next agenda item that in the VEMS report, you'll see there's an outstanding balance of $32,000. So I just wanted to highlight that, and that's why there's an invoice in the queue coming up on the agenda. Just want to loop it together for you. Okay. All right. So the next item on our agenda is the CMed reports. And I sent them out to you guys, and it sounds like you've had some time to review. Do you have any questions, anything you want to highlight? Mike Maglione gets these reports and shares them with us each month. So he's here in case there's specific questions, but just let me know what you're thinking about.
I personally was okay with it. It was interesting to see some of the notes where it gets into detail about ambulances trying to chase down ambulances on intercepts and crossing paths, and that's one of the that would be my goal to not see that anymore, right? That's all of our goals. Make sure we have a paramedic on an ambulance so we don't have to try to find one en route going to a hospital.
Anybody else have any comments or questions on the CMed reports? A lot to read. Okay, well, thank you for our guests. We're going to move on to a budget discussion. So, you know, if you want to stay, that's fine. If you don't, I completely understand. So I sent you the budget run. It's pretty basic for our commission. Hopefully you can pull it up. And if page 1, which is the budget request, that's sort of a summary of everything that's being requested, and then the meat is behind it. Some of you that work on city budgets, this is exactly the same. It's no different for the fire department or anybody else. It's a form. And I kept everything the same with the exception of CMed, and that's simply because, and I included that letter of the CMed request of what they're looking for and why. I don't know if you had a chance to read that. That's not something we can negotiate. It's a mathematical, statistical calculation that they go through. So Mike, if you have some questions, Mike can answer a little bit more, I believe. But that's why you see that increase there for CMed. The rest is, and this is an overall, and then we'll chat about it. The goal statements we can chat about when it comes, you know, after. I just want to go through each item. So each tab represents the summary sheet. And I'd like to take a minute to go on to the goal statement. That's something that could be approved upon. I don't know if anybody thought at all about changing goals or any kind of activities or something that you'd like to change for this. Now's the time. And any questions on the numbers?
So I guess I did look at this and so this is a when you say a budget, this is a budget of the funds that go to from the city of Shelton to Echo Hose Ambulance, or on this case the 32,000 for paramedic service to VEMS. Other than that, we're not talking about any budgetary items within Echo Hose Ambulance.
Correct, because we don't have any budget items for Echo Hose Ambulance under our purview.
Right. I assume that, but I wanted to ask the question.
Sure, absolutely. So historically, we haven't used much for personnel training. I kept it the same because we have new commissioners, and I thought maybe if there's some sort of expense that we may incur, it would be covered under this line item. It's never really been bothered if I kept it at that. Like the A&T and the Board of Aldermen have not really questioned that amount because it's not that big. But I decided to keep it the same because perhaps one of the commissioners or all would like some sort of training that may cost something. Paramedic services, they kept the cost at the same, so that's the same, and same for clerical fees.
And so all of the rest, so ambulances, maintenance, gasoline, insurances, uniforms, everything else is covered by Echo Hose for the city.
Joe Lasella, I see you're still on there. Do you have a comment for that? You can give us a little more detail.
So Echo Hose, being a not-for-profit, we're self-funded, so we do pay for all those expenses. We do get in kind of the use of the building. We pay the utilities for the building, but those expenses are paid for by the ambulance service.
Building maintenance?
Always, yeah. They're always very good about helping fix anything or, repair anything that needs to be repaired.
So you say you pay for your own utilities in a city building?
Yep, and it's been like that for a long time, and it's something that we're able to do. So we've been doing it right along, and supplies and things like that, we get the majority of our supplies through vendors, but we do get some supplies through Griffin Hospital as well.
Cleaning supplies, cleaning services, you pay for all that yourselves.
The city actually drops off a lot of the cleaning supplies. You know, we have any type of maintenance work at the facilities done by, you know, city employees, which we're grateful for, plowing, any type of building maintenance, things of that nature. All that's covered by the city.
And you don't use the city services for maintenance on the ambulances or your vehicles?
No, we use private mechanic and garages.
And so would this be the forum to ask if we, you know, as we have this budget in front of us, if simple things, I'd start with small steps to not have Echo Hose have to pay for their own utilities in a city building that's being used for our services? I mean, it's probably a small number, Joe. I don't even know what it is, but it's something that I'm sure you could use the resources in other places.
I wouldn't know what the actual expense is every year. But we pay our cable and our internet and things like that. So really, if anything, it's maybe a gas bill or electric bill, but you know, that's about, you know, only thing that we would probably end up paying for in our budget.
I mean, it would be my goal to have all the utilities. Obviously, the city's doing the building maintenance and the cleaning, but have all the utilities supplied by the city for that building. Fire departments, we don't pay for our utilities in the fire department, you know. So why I don't believe Echo Hose ambulance should pay for the utilities for their building, you know, just to be fair.
Well, there's a little difference between the fire department and EMS, and I caution you to compare the two. Because the fire department's not charging, EMS is. And
Yeah.
I'm not against, you know, thoughts and ideas and the changes in the budget. I don't know that, Joe, please help me out. I don't know that that's going to make a big difference for you at the moment. If you want to explore something as far as an increase in the budget, you know, absolutely, I think we can pursue that. But I think that we need to do some homework as to what it is, how much it is, how's it going to impact, as opposed to, you know, kind of throwing it out there. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Thank you. I mean, we've been able to, you know, pay for it. It's not something that we mind doing. You know, we're there 24/7 around the clock. You know, so we appreciate any support and we're grateful for it. But you know, we've been very fortunate to be able to run a tight, lean budget and be able to kind of dump our resources into the community. So it's you know, something that we enjoy doing, and we want to, you know, continue to provide this community with even more resources as we move forward.
I want to just say that being a new commissioner, I'm all ears, and I am so interested in this and amazed at how the funding and how well everyone is doing. I really want to commend all of you, really. And I respect everything that you folks do. It's really very, very interesting. So that's why I'm quiet and listening and learning.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sabatino, did you have something to say? I saw you raise your hand, but I missed it.
I was going to ask Joe, do they have a written agreement that took over the payments for the electrical and the gas? That was something done in the past we might not be aware of?
Honestly, I really don't know. It's been like that for a long time, and you know, we never really even thought much of it. You know, it's just something we've always kind of done and really never thought twice about it, to be quite honest with you. We're grateful for, you know, the facility that we have, and you know, the grounds are kept nice. The city does a lot of great work for, and our public works department and our facilities department are top notch. There's never a time that something happens that they're not right there to help us. So we're very grateful.
Yeah.
Okay, guys can pull up the budget. Do you want to talk about the goals that are listed there? I mean, it's definitely a statement of goals, but it can be fluid throughout the year. So, I don't want you to feel pressure at the moment to have changes, but if you don't have changes tonight, that's absolutely fine because it can be revised throughout the whole fiscal year.
Okay, right.
Does anybody have any comments, questions? Before I call for a vote?
Make a motion to accept the budget as submitted.
Second it.
Motion made. I'm sorry, who made the motion? I couldn't tell.
Justin.
Oh. Harry, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay, and it was seconded by Karen McGovern. All right, motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Next is meeting dates for 2021. While this should be something easy, it turned out it's not. And everybody has a lot of volunteerism in their full-time jobs right now. So we're trying to find a time to meet that's where we can get the most attendance. And like I said, for quite a while now, it's been I think it was the third Monday at 7 o'clock quarterly. So I've heard from 2 commissioners, they want to move it to monthly. I'm open to whatever the commission wants to do. We'll certainly bring it to a vote, but I definitely want to have some discussion. This seemed to work. What is this, the first Wednesday? This is the first Wednesday. I don't know if this continues to work for everybody, but definitely open for discussion.
First Wednesday at 7 works well for me.
Me too.
Yes, that works.
Wow, does that mean everybody finds this convenient? That's amazing. All right, so let's entertain a motion that we will have a meeting the first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. And for the time being, it will be virtual.
Make a motion. So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Mataski. Who seconded? Sorry.
I did.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay, so next item is approval of payment of bills, and we have one bill in front of you tonight
Mhm.
that I mentioned earlier on. See if I can pull it up.
Yeah.
And that is for them. And you'll see this invoice. It's the town subsidy. It's $32,000. And I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this invoice.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoice.
Motion made. Looking for a second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Are there any opposed? Great, motion carries. Super. So the next item is the opportunity for commissioners to just talk about something they have in their mind or anything regarding the meeting. So the floor is yours.
So
Okay.
I'll step up if nobody wants to say anything. Yeah, so the electrical is just one small, this is just one of my things that I'm thinking of. And Mr. Lasella, you said something that struck me, and you said, I'm grateful for anything the city gives me. I looked at, I don't want you to be grateful, because you guys, just like VEMS, you do a tremendous amount of good for all of our people for not a lot of thanks, very little money, and the city doesn't really support you financially, right? Which bugs me. It bugs me a little bit. So don't be thankful. We come to us. I feel like I want our board. That's why I want to do monthly. Is if there's something that needs to be done, or we need to address, or we need to help you with, or if you want us to get involved with outreaches, fundraising, whatever it is, then I want to be able to have an open door policy that you come to us, and we as a board should fight for the things that you need with the city, right? So obviously, Mr. Maglione could be our gateway to the mayor or the board of aldermen, or however we want to approach that. But there's going to be things that you're going to need, and that you need to come to us for, and I want to support you for that. And with that said, is just looking at where we are as a city, it's something that we should be thinking about as commissioners, and you as part of Echo Hose Ambulance, is, do we need another station somewhere, right? Because response times are important. So do we need a station in Bridgeport Avenue? What are the thought processes there? Is there real estate there that the city has? Whatever it is, I don't have any of those answers. I'm just saying that when you looked at that budget, and you said there's goals, right? There's 6 years goals. There's the capital 6-year goal plan is empty. So we have no capital plan for EMS in Shelton from a capital perspective, based on that budget that I saw. And we should be helping purchase ambulances. We should be helping purchase a building, and just because EMS bills the patients doesn't necessarily mean that's enough to run a good service. It just doesn't. So we have to, I think we could either agree or disagree, but from my opinion is it's very difficult to run a service just on the funding. There's a lot of no pays. There's a lot of calls that take extra resources. There's a lot of other expenditures. So and I want to, again, my goal is to make sure that we have a great service here in Shelton, and to support Echo Hose Ambulance, because they do a great job, and I think they could do a better job with resources. So we should look at, maybe not this year, but next year, how do we start building that? Hey, we need to give them more resources to do the things that they need. And I would just ask you, Mr. Lasella, to be realistic, to not hold back and say we could get by with what we have. What do we need to get to be the next level?
Thank you for your support. Absolutely, we want you guys to be very engaged with us. We would love to have you, participate as often as you like, especially in a lot of the community outreach projects that we get involved with. There's so many great things that are taking place here in the community, and we really love to have you guys involved. We appreciate that support for the future. We want to continue to grow and continue to provide more and more resources to the city as the city continues to grow, and we're growing with it as well. We're very fortunate to have the people that we have. So many dedicated volunteers and staff that come to work every day. But there are, as we grow larger, there are things that can, definitely help us, and we'll bring that to your attention. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Mataski, that sounds like a great task for a new EMS commissioner to be the spearhead on. I encourage you to be the lead on that one.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments?
I
Go ahead, Justin.
I'm as a new commissioner, and I've been around, I'm probably the most frequent flyer of the EMS system in Shelton, as everybody who knows me. In fact, since our last meeting, I did take a ride on the ambulance, which they were very professional. So my goal was to make sure, when we were talking about, to get a paramedic on each ambulance. And I kind of know that feeling when you're in distress and you're sitting there waiting for the medic to show up for you or one of your loved ones. How, even though a minute to 2 minutes seems, or 20 minutes seems, it seems like hours. So that was one of the main concerns why I got involved.
I
Mr.
would
Graff?
really,
Oh, go ahead.
I would really, being that this city is growing leaps and bounds with all of these people wanting to move into our community, I really believe that we do have to be there for them and service them as much as we possibly can. And I'm willing to help out as much as I possibly can as well.
Yeah, I just would like to add, where I touched on a little earlier, just that I hope as this commission, we have a lot of new people on here. And as we said, there's a lot of great things going on in Shelton. There's a lot of, and when we talk about maybe looking at adjusting something, it definitely is not a knock on anything that is anyone's current work. It just, I would just like us to, as a longtime resident here, to continue to explore what we can do to improve. The city is constantly growing, things are constantly coming in. And if that means exploring a new house, adding more, ambulances, wherever that may be. And, I don't have all the answers. I'm still learning which questions even that we need to ask at this time. So, as the other members, from Mr. Lucella and Mr. Perello and everyone on there, so that information, as much as they can share, and then it's our job as the commission to, go out and continue to do and fight what's best for the residents of Shelton.
Excellent. Great. So my comments are, thank you all for stepping up and being willing to volunteer on this great commission. And I truly appreciate you finding the time tonight and reviewing all this material. It was a lot at once. And I appreciate you coming prepared. And again, welcome to the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll
So-
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Graff. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Motion carries. Thank you all very